Natasha.
Debbie.
Show.
The show.
Welcome to it. Just two patriotic girls.
Learning about the world.
So please, don't take us the wrong way. Hello, Australia.
G'day.
Yeah, she had to do it.
I did.
Welcome to the Natasha and Debbie show. We're happy to have you guys with us today on this episode. And if you like our content, please hit the like button.
And consider subscribing, but don't do so because we said, please check out some of our other content. Make sure you want to be a part of our family.
Yeah, don't follow peer pressure, even by us. Don't. Don't do it. Peer pressure is wrong. But if you do, we'll love you even more.
That's right. Here on the Natasha and Debbie show, we love diving into some of the history that is out there, especially World War II. Obviously, it was a huge war. Took up the whole world, right?
Was it?
It did. And there's so much that went on that we couldn't possibly know everything.
No.
And I know in one of our other videos that we had watched on Australia, there was some mention about the bombing of Darwin.
Yeah, which we did not know. We really didn't. And, we're not clueless Americans. We know quite a bit. But, this was something we just did not know about. We're more taught, Nazi Germany. Today we decided, let's cover this. Let's learn about it.
Yeah, let's find out more. So we're going to do exactly that. We're not going to talk too much during the video, as much as possible. It's a little bit longer.
Yeah, and this video is called World War II in Australia, Bombing of Darwin, 1942. So, as Debbie just said, we're not going to talk a lot during this one because we want to learn as much as we can. If we have questions or something that, we need to know about, we will say something, and we'll hopefully rely on you in the comments to help us if there's an issue or something we're not understanding here. But we do want to learn about, this part of history. It's all so important, and hopefully more people watch this and learn about it too. So without any further ado, let's get into it.
Darwin is the capital city of the Northern Territory of Australia, situated on the Timor Sea. It was a small town with limited civil and military infrastructure, with a population of 5,800 people. Due to its strategic position in Northern Australia, the Royal Australian Navy, RAN, and Royal Australian Air Force, RAAF, had constructed bases near the town in the 1930s and the early years of World War II. As early as August 1941, Darwin had been a key in the South Pacific air ferry route, designed to avoid routes through the Japanese Mandate in the Central Pacific for bomber reinforcement of the Philippines. By November 1941, the Allies envisioned Darwin as the hub of transshipment efforts to support the Java and Philippine forces, and due to its importance, the Australian government considered it as a vital asset in Australia's defence against an expanding imperial of Japan.
Of course.
Australia lay directly south of the newly consolidated Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, where Japanese military leaders feared that it would be used as a base by the Allies to strike at Japan's newly won empire. Commander of the Combined Fleet, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, feared Darwin was a possible hindrance to Japanese operations in Java and Timor. He submitted proposals for an amphibious invasion of the Darwin area, but the Navy and Army General Staff rejected that option, indicating that the continent required more troops to subdue and garrison than Japan had to expend. So Australia's
because you know why? They knew you guys would wreck them.
No,
I was thinking, they're like, oh no, we're not doing that.
Right.
If any of you have family members, fathers, grandfathers that were in the war, let us know. And our deepest respects to them.
Absolutely.
Northern ports had to be neutralized instead, and the islands above it had to be seized as a buffer to prevent Allied counterstrokes against Japan's newly vital islands and resource centers. Destroying Darwin was the first step in that process, and offered the additional advantage of diverting Allied resources to Australia's defense, and away from the fighting in Southeast Asia.
Okay. I like the map. It's helpful.
It's definitely helpful.
Very helpful.
Following the outbreak of the Pacific War in early December 1941, Darwin's defences were strengthened. In line with plans developed before the war, several Australian Army and Royal Australian Air Force units stationed in the town were sent to the Netherlands East Indies to strengthen the defences of the islands of Ambon and Timor. The harbour underwent improvements to coastal defences and port facilities, while local airfield facilities were also upgraded, and the garrison was steadily increased. Following the outbreak of the war, all but 2,000 civilians were evacuated from the town to the Southern Australia state. Despite Darwin's strategic importance to the defence of Australia, the city was poorly defended. The Australian Army's 14th Heavy Anti-Aircraft Battery comprised 16 QF 3.7-inch AA guns, and 2 3-inch AA guns, to counter aircraft flying at high altitudes, and 8 Lewis guns, for use against low-flying raiders. The crews of these guns had conducted little recent training, due to ammunition shortages.
I just want to pause for just a moment because I know it's going to be bombed, but I don't know exactly what is coming in that regards. And so I'm on edge here. Are you feeling that too?
I am.
Because I'm like sitting here going, what's happening? What's going to happen? How bad was it? I don't know yet. So it's making me feel on edge. And I'm hearing this and I'm not liking this, obviously.
Exactly.
You know, but I don't know how bad it gets. And so I'm very on edge.
Also stationed at Darwin was the headquarters of Brigadier David Blake's 7th Military District, with about 2 militia battalions of the citizens' military forces.
There's a lot going on.
The Air Forces stationed in the town was RAAF No. 12 Squadron, which was equipped with 5 unserviceable CAC Wirraway advanced trainers used as fighters, and RAAF No. 13 Squadron with 3 Lockheed Hudson light bombers. Also present on the day of the attack were 10 P-40 Warhawk fighters, from the U.S. 33rd Pursuit Squadron of the U.S. Army Air Force, which had arrived Darwin on the 15th of February.
Could have been more.
They were due to take off for Timor, on their way to Java. There was an air warning radar unit in the city, but the equipment was incomplete, and the last of radar equipment would not arrive at Darwin until 22 February.
Great. Great. This is reminding me of Pearl Harbor.
It is.
Exactly. Well, not exactly, but...
To support the invasion of Timor, and to interdict the flow of material and supplies to Java from Darwin, a surprise air raid was planned against Port Darwin. An internal draft plan of operation was drawn by Southern Task Force Commander, Vice Admiral Nobutake Kondo. For the attack on Darwin, Kondo had assembled a large strike force, the IJN 1st Air Fleet, under the command of Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo.
Good lord.
This force comprised the aircraft carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Hiryu, and Soyu, escorted by 2 heavy cruisers of 8th Cruiser Division, and 1st Destroyer Squadron, comprised of a light cruiser and 7 destroyers. Each carrier had an established strength of 63 to 72 aircraft, comprising 27 Nakajima B-5N2 Cape torpedo bombers, 18 IE-3A1 Valdive bombers, and 18 Mitsubishi A6M20 fighters. A total of 432 aircraft.
They weren't fooling around with their attack.
No, they never did.
That's an awful lot to send in, considering what was in Darwin and available for them to use. Well,
and I don't know if you remember or not, but, you know, Americans lost more lives by the Japanese than by the Germans in World War II. So, man, this is some scary crap.
Craft with reserves, led by Air Group Commander Mitsuo Fushida. The carrier-borne aircraft were manned by experienced pilots and crews, around 80% of whom had participated in the Pearl Harbor attacks. 3 submarines of the 6th Submarine Squadron also grouped with the force. These task force would leave Palau and proceed to Timor Sea, 350 kilometers northwest of Darwin. Their objective was to conduct a surprise attack and to destroy the port facilities, sink as many ships in the harbor as possible, and destroy infrastructures like oil storage and the army base. In addition to the carrier-borne aircraft, 54 land-based naval bombers also would carry out the raid on Darwin on the same day.
Jeez.
These units comprised of 27 Mitsubishi G4M Betty medium bombers from the Kano-Air Air Group based at Kendari, and 27 Mitsubishi G3M Nell medium bombers from the 1st Air Group operating at Ambon. Both air groups were comprised of the IJN 21st Air Flotilla, under the command of the 11th Air Fleet Commander, Vice Admiral Nishizo Sukahara. Their objective was to conduct the noon raid and to destroy the RAAF base.
No. Oh. This is making me really ticked off right now. Like, no.
On the 9th of February 1942, the suggestion of a strike on Darwin, by Rear Admiral Tamon Yamaguchi, was followed up by the Southern Area Fleet Commander, Vice Admiral Nobutake Kondo. Kondo then relayed it to the Commander of Combined Fleet, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. At 10:20 on the 10th of February, C-5M2 Babs reconnaissance aircraft from the 3rd Air Group took off from Ambon to carry out a covert photo reconnaissance over Port Darwin. After stealthily reconnoitering over and taking photos of Port Darwin, the C-5M2 Babs landed on Ambon at 17:20. The crew reported that they identified an aircraft carrier, 5 destroyers, and 21 merchant ships in Darwin Harbour, as well as 30 aircraft at the town's 2 airfields. Though at the time, there is no aircraft carrier at Darwin. The crew had sighted a former aircraft carrier, converted to seaplane tender, USS Langley, who left on the 11th of February.
Okay. Shoot.
On the 15th of February, 1 U.S. Army transport ship, and 3 civilian transport ship, carrying troops for Timor reinforcement, consisted of U.S. Army of the 147th and 148th Field Artillery. And Australian troops of the 24th Pioneer Battalion departed Darwin at 2 o'clock. The convoy was escorted by a heavy cruiser, USS Houston, 1 destroyer, USS Peary, and 2 Royal Australian Navy sloops. On the same day, at 1400 hours, the IJN 1st Carrier Air Fleet Task Force left Palau for Timor Sea for the attacks on Port Darwin. One of the carriers, the IJN Kargar, was limited to 18 knots because she had struck an uncharted reef while shifting mooring positions. On the afternoon of the 18th of February, the Allied convoy that was bound for Timor had returned to Darwin. The convoy had to reverse course on the 16th of February, after the Supreme Commander of ABDA Command, General Wavell, had received intelligence information that indicated the invasion of Timor was imminent.
Okay.
He also feared that a Japanese carrier was in the area to cover the landing. The constant air attack on the Timor convoy was one major piece of that evidence. The Houston and the Perry then were ordered to leave Darwin and joined the Rear Admiral Dormant Strike Force at Chilachap.
Okay.
After a Japanese invasion convoy for Bali had been sighted on Makassar Strait. The Houston and the Peary departed on that day. Shortly after departure, the Peary sonar detected a suspected submarine, and launched a search that lasts several hours, while Houston continued alone.
I'm getting freaked out.
However, they found nothing, and returned to Darwin for a refuel. This took longer than expected, and USS Berry Commander, Lieutenant Commander Keith, decided to remain at Darwin overnight, and sail for Chilachap on the next morning.
I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. I'm sorry, I feel stupid right now, and I hate saying that, but I do, because I don't know this part of World War II, and I we know quite a bit about World War II, but this I don't know, and I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, we learn a lot of stuff about World War II in schools here and stuff, but this one was not something I remember. It doesn't mean it wasn't taught. It was.
I was just going to say that. It very well could have been taught.
It was 400 years ago we were in school.
At least 400.
Or it was touched on for a moment.
Right. That's probably more of what it was.
Yeah.
Touched on.
I like the way they're showing
By
this.
dawn of the 19th
Mhm.
of February, after cautiously sailed to the south, Vice Admiral Nagumo Carrier's task force had arrived at a pre-arranged launch point, 350 kilometers northwest of Darwin.
Yeah, he's close.
A weather reconnaissance aircraft had been launched from the cruiser, Tone, at dawn and arrived over Darwin at around 8:30. With the weather fine and clear, the attack on Darwin was confirmed and Nagumo ordered the strike.
It's echoing Pearl Harbor
At
for sure.
8:30, the carriers launched the first wave.
Ah, geez.
Consists
Yep.
of 81 B-5N2 Cape torpedo bombers, but functioning as level bombers. Escorted by 18 A6M20 fighters.
Good God.
A lot of planes coming in.
At 9 o'clock, the second wave is launched with 71
That's soon after.
D3A1 Valdai bombers.
Yeah.
Escorted by 18 A6M20 fighters. The second wave would catch up with the first wave before arriving over Darwin.
That's what I was thinking, because that was very soon after the first wave. Wow.
A total of 188 aircraft was launched. The attack was led by Commander Mitsuo Fujita aboard a Nakajima B-5N2 Kate. The order also was given to land-based bombers and flying boats of IJN 21st Air Flotilla. The land-based bombers would attack the Darwin airfield at 11:30, while flying boats will seek the enemy in the Arafura Sea and the Timor Sea.
Wow.
Okay.
27 Mitsubishi G4M Betty medium bombers of Kanoya Air Group, led by Lieutenant Commander Toshii Irisa, departed Kendari at 09:05. While 27 Mitsubishi G3M Nell medium bombers of 1st Air Group, led by Lieutenant Commander Takio Ozaki, departed Ambon 5 minutes later. They were to joining over Banda Sea before headed for Darwin. As morning on the 19th of February came around, it seemed like another normal day in Darwin. The freighter, MV Neptuna, carrying material for the extension of the harbour boom, and 200 tons of depth charges, was at the wharf's outer berth. The Australian freighter, SS Barossa, with wood to extend the wharf, was also present. There were 3 American transport ships, USAT Meeks, Mauna Loa, and SS Port Ma, of the return Timor convoy. There was the British ship, MV Tulagi, also from the return Timor convoy. The British tanker, MV British Motorist, was there to replenish Darwin's stocks of fuel. The hospital ship, HMAHS Manunda, originally bound for Singapore, was in the anchorage, as was the Australian freighter, SS Zealandia, carrying ammunition. Destroyer, USS Peary, was trying to get topped off with fuel to head to Java. A destroyer seaplane tender, the USS William B. Preston, was servicing its Catalinas. There were some 47 vessels in all. 6 remaining Hudsons from RAAF-2 Squadron, who had evacuated Dutch Timor, also arrived early in the morning.
6 bombers.
Also, 5 PBY Catalinas of Patrol Wing 10 had gone out on a routine patrol over the Timor Sea. One of those patrols the area around Bathurst Island. In addition to the vessels in port, the U.S. supply ships, USAT Don Isidro, and SS Florence D, were near Bathurst Island.
Okay.
They were bound for Philippines, bringing ammunition to General Douglas MacArthur's besieged forces there. For Don Isidro, after being discovered by the Japanese float plane a day before, her captain decided to reverse course and head back for Darwin.
Where? Okay.
At 9:15, 10 P-40 Warhawks of the U.S. Army Air Force 33rd Pursuit Squadron, under command of Major Floyd Pell, took off and heading west for Timor on the first leg of their journey to Java.
Well.
However, they were recalled back 20 minutes later because of bad weather.
Oh.
Tend to go and head north.
Right, that's what I was thinking. I was just gonna say there. Oh boy. Does the weather affect
By
the Japanese?
9:15, As the first air attack fleet en route to Darwin, the formation encountered a patrol wing 10 PBY Catalina, flown by Lieutenant Thomas Mora, who was on patrol out of Darwin. 9 Kagas Zeros was broke from formation to intercept an American patrol. One of the Zeros, flown by Naval Air Pilot, First Class Yoshikazu Nagahama, bounced the Catalina, before Mora's crew knew what hit them. With both engines dead, Mora PBY Catalina forced to make a hard landing on the sea. 8 Kaga Zeros then returned to the main formation, while 1 Zero loses from formation and proceeds to Darwin alone. Observing the action was a small Filipino merchant ship, the SS Florence D, altered course and rescued the crew a short time later.
Oh, cool.
At 9:37, Father McGrath of the Sacred Heart Mission, on Bathurst Island, who was also an Australian coast watcher, observed a large force of aircraft heading south, and sent a message using a pedal radio to the coastal radio station at Darwin.
Okay.
However, no general alarm was given at Darwin. The RAAF officers judged that the aircraft, which had been sighted, was 10 P-40 Warhawks, who had recalled back after bad weather.
Oh, they thought
a
it was the
grave error
other.
was made, considered that P-40 is not coming from the north rather than from the west.
Right.
As the attack fleet flew across the Tiwi Islands, 6-0 from Hieu split from the main formation, and strafed the Bathurst Island mission and a stranded C-53 on the airstrip. The aircraft was destroyed, and several buildings, including the radio shack, were damaged.
I need a breath. This is a lot. It's hard sitting here just watching the little map, thinking, "Why didn't you see them?"
Well, yeah,
But,
we thought the same thing with Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, and especially with today's technology, why wouldn't?
But
why don't you see it? Why don't you know?
Right.
And so I am remembering that.
This is 1942.
Back then was not like today. We were not as
advanced. Yeah.
Didn't have all the technology that we have nowadays.
Even now, like there's still ways that you can miss things. There's still
there
stealth
definitely
operations.
Is. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff to interfere with that. So.
Right. Yeah, I know. I keep sitting here thinking like, okay, maybe it won't happen, but then I'm like, it does happen. I just don't know what the gravity of that is, and I'm just praying for such small amount of life lost. Is all I can think in my head.
And I am liking this map and how they're doing that.
I am too.
It's definitely appreciated.
Yes,
appreciated by me anyway. So
I agree.
Have the visual.
At 9:40, 10 P-40 Warhawks was back at Darwin. 5 Warhawks landed to refuel, while the remainder patrolled over Darwin's sky.
Good call. Now turn around.
At the same time, the main Japanese force crosses the coast east of Darwin, and then turns over the 35 kilometers peg, on its approach to the town from the southeast, in an effort for some deception.
Yeah.
Despite the main force having been reported, but not yet over Darwin, the first Japanese aircraft to arrive was a lonely Zero, flown by Nagahama, who had broken off early from the main formation. Between 9:37 and 9:45, he quickly engaged 5 P-40 Warhawks of the 33rd Pursuit Squadron, who still in the air, as they attempted to protect the other 5 who were already landing.
How's this gonna go down?
Nagahama Zero was too quick. 4 Warhawks were quickly shot down, while one managed to break off over the flights and heads to the southeast.
I didn't see that coming.
At 9:55, the main formation approached the target from the southeast, and discovered that still no alarm had been sounded in Darwin.
Wild.
Like the attack on Pearl Harbor, the IJN task force once again had achieved a complete surprise on Darwin.
Yep.
The attack commenced when 9 low-flying Zero fighters from Kaga, who had split from the main formation, strafed an auxiliary minesweeper, HMAS Gunbar, as a prelude to commencing the major attack.
Here we go.
At 9:58, the air raid sirens of Darwin were sounding. 16 3.7-inch heavy anti-aircraft guns opened fire. The 5 Warhawks, which had landed, were shocked to discover that they were under attack by Japanese Zeros. They tried to take off again. 2 were able to get to the sky,
Good.
including squadron leader, Major Pell, but immediately shot down
No.
by Japanese Zeros from Hiryu, and was killed when he parachuted out of the aircraft. The other Warhawks on the ground were destroyed, as they tried to take off. Darwin's air defense now had been eliminated.
Yeah.
What left his 16 3.7-inch heavy air guns on the ground to do the job. Meanwhile, Mitsuo-Fushida bombers began their run over the harbor and town. At 9:59, all B-5 and 2 Cape-level bombers began attacking ship at the harbor, while the fighter groups strafed AA position and other targets of opportunity. 800 kilograms bombs struck the wharf, blowing the Pierce train into the harbor.
I see. Sorry. Sorry. I said we weren't going to pause much, but this is a lot happening and new for us, and it's hard. And God bless you, Australia. Seriously, God bless you, and the Americans and the British and all the other countries and allies there, you know, that lost their lives and aided in defending, and dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
Explosions destroyed water mains, oil pipes, and much of the pier. Strings of bombs moved across the hospital, post office, police barracks, and through the town's government offices. They were smashed and left in smoldering ruins. The Japanese had learned a lesson from the past. They were not making the same mistake again, as they made at Pearl Harbor, by attacking only the ships.
Lovely.
As the Kate high-level bombers complete their bombing run, at 10:03, the Valdive bombers began their attack. 71 D3A1 Valdive bombers were divided into 2 groups. All Valdive bomber from Akagi, Hiryu, Soryu, and part of Kaga dive bombers, to attack the port and military installation, while the other part of Kaga dive bombers attacks the Parap civil airfield and the RAAF station. At 10:10, the situation deteriorated rapidly.
Yeah, there's like no defense
At
here.
the dock,
Yeah.
shipping riding a tanker was then being subjected to devastating pattern bombing, dive bombing, and machine gun sweeps. Both the Rossa and Neptuna, at the dock, took early bomb hits and were set afire. The 3 PBY of Patrol Wing 10 on the water were destroyed by gunfire from Kaga Zeros. Swan, Warrego, Peary, and William B. Preston managed to get underway. However, it was the destroyer Peary that was the largest warship in the harbor, and she took more than her share of Japanese air attack. After evading the first few bombs, Peary took 5 bomb hits in rapid succession. The ship broke apart. She sank later at 1300 hours, along with her commanding officer.
Jeez.
The Manunda, a hospital ship, then sent out rescue boats to rescue Berry's surviving crew. Shortly afterward, she was hit by a Valdive bomber. Despite 12 killed and 47 wounded among the crew and medical staff, Manunda continued to function as a hospital ship.
Really?
U.S. Army Transport, USAT Meads, was ablaze and sinking. Mauna Loa had a broken back and was going down by the stern, although her entire crew was rescued. A British tanker, MV British Motorist, was sinking by the boat. Port Mar was beached. At about the same time, Zealandia took a bomb down her hatch that exploded deep in the hold.
Can you imagine the carnage and just the
cannot.
shock and it's just everything happening all this one time? Everything's moving, and that's why I appreciate this map.
Yeah.
This is better than just watching footage of I'm not really sure where and what's happening. This is showing exactly what's going on at the moment it's happening, and it's just carnage.
Yeah.
Shock and awe, carnage.
Yeah. And
I just
those planes just keep coming and coming.
Yeah.
And coming. And coming.
not letting
coming.
up. You know, 5
no place to go.
bombs. You know, on the one ship. Just
Yeah, there's no place to go. You can't go back to port. It's not there.
did you hear the hospital ship, even though it lost 12, I think he said, and got attacked several times, still remained as a ship that was actually helping. And
Yeah, I couldn't imagine the desperation of being on a ship and trying to get out of there.
desperation.
And you can't.
Just the fear and the terror of all of this. It just absolutely breaks my heart. And wow. so much. I couldn't imagine being on the ground during any of this or in a ship or I couldn't.
Heck, even on shore somewhere else watching this happen, just being a regular old citizen.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And you're going,
I'm sorry.
The port and
Sorry.
harbour were racked by an almost volcanic explosion as the 200 tons of depth charges on the blazing Neptuna detonated and sent shockwaves through the harbour. The nearby Barossa, being towed clear when Neptuna exploded, had to be beached, and her timber cargo completely lost.
Jeez.
At the same time, Swan was badly damaged by a near miss. At 10:30, about 30 minutes after it had started, the strike force commander, Commander Mitsuo Fushida, signals the last of his aircraft
This is
to
only
return
30
to the
minutes
carrier
after.
task force.
Didn't take long, does it?
No.
At 10:45, as they headed back, however, they spotted two Philippine cargo schooners, the USAT Don Isidro and the SS Florence D, and reported it to 1st Carrier Fleet Commander, Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo. Before they headed back, 9 Zeros from the carrier Soryu attacked the freighter Don Isidro to slow its speed.
Wait, what now? I thought the second wave and the first wave were together. I thought they caught up to them. So what?
Apparently not.
Darwin's agony was not over yet. The second wave, making up of 54 land-based medium bombers from Kanoya, Air Group, and Fur Group, arrived over Darwin just before midday. At 11:58, the town air raid siren was sounded. As the bomber force approached Darwin at 18,000 feet, they ignore the town and harbour. Instead, they concentrate on the military airfield.
Come on.
What little the first wave had left untouched, the bombers finished off. One of these formations attacked RAAF base Darwin from the southwest, while the other approached from the northeast. The two formations arrived over the base at the same time, and dropped their bombs simultaneously. This massive load of explosives from 54 aircraft struck the entire area of the airfield simultaneously, and with terrifying force. The highly disciplined waves of bombers then wheeled and turned, rearranged themselves in tidy formations, and swept back over the RAAF
Was
base.
there anything left?
For another simultaneous release of up to 13,000 kilograms of high explosive. At 18,000 feet, the bombers were well beyond the range of the machine guns. The Australian heavy anti-aircraft flak gunners were unable to shoot down or damage any of the high-flying Japanese aircraft due to defective fuses.
Oh, come on. Seriously. Not.
The second wave raid inflicted extensive damage on the RAAF base. The highly accurate pattern bombing destroyed 2 hangars, runways, 4 dormitories, the hospital, mess halls, equipment stores, and several other buildings.
Come on.
6 Hudson light bombers were also destroyed, and another Hudson and a Wirrawee were badly damaged.
They literally had nothing going for them here.
The
You know?
second raid lasts only 20 minutes, and at about 12:20, all 54 Japanese medium bombers left Darwin.
I said fudge. It's no wonder. There was a third wave. Okay. Because there needed to be at this point, right?
Yeah, I mean,
After
pretty much.
receiving reported that
Ow.
2 cargo ships were spotted, Vice Admiral Nagimo immediately ordered the cruisers, Tonei and Shikuma, to probe the spotted vessel, while ordering Soryu and Hiryu to attack it after they received the first wave aircraft. Tonei launched an IEG E-13A1
Wow.
Jake reconnaissance float plane to scout the reported ships. A Jake reconnaissance float plane later located Don Isidro at about 1500 hours.
No.
2 bombs were dropped, but neither hits the ship.
Okay, I'll go back and do it again.
Mm.
No, that's the second one. You missed it. Okay, there's one thing.
At much the same time, 9 D-3A1 Valdive bombers on each of the carriers, Soryu and Hiryu, were launched.
This just seems to
The
be
planes from
overkill.
Soryu found the ship
That's
1.5
4,
hours later. The 9 dive bombers scored 5 direct hits, leaving the ship heavily damaged in
Yeah.
the fire.
They were coming back for that.
Mm-hmm.
Knew it.
I was only the
She was beached on the north coast later to avoid sinking.
Shocked that she didn't.
Just 50 kilometers to the south, Florence D picked up a distress call from Don Isidro and immediately changed course to assist.
What can you do though?
However, they were spotted by an E-13A1 Jake reconnaissance float plane. Unarmed and with a top speed of only 10 knots, the captain decided that it was useless to outmaneuver the float plane. The reconnaissance float plane dropped 2 bombs, but neither hit the ship, before flying off to the west.
That's good.
Under
Yeah,
the threat
well.
from Japanese bombers, Florence D. captain decided that it was too dangerous to proceed to the Philippines, and turned back for Darwin.
Don't go back there.
Unfortunately, approximately 2 hours later,
Knew it.
PU-9D3A1 Val dive bombers found the freighter and launched an immediate attack.
Knew it.
2 bombs were hit on a cargo ship full of ammunitions,
Oh.
ensuring the end of Florence D.
Cool. This is upsetting. Obviously.
Florence
Sorry.
D went down
Sorry.
by the bow within minutes.
Wow.
I just, again, want to, sorry. I just want to take a second again. If anyone watching this has family that has lost lives during this horrific day, our thoughts with you. This is disgustingly upsetting and horrible. Just horrible.
A loss of life is not.
No, but this is just, like you said, I know you said overkill, and I was like, well, that's war, right? But yeah, this seems, I mean, excessive, unnecessary. Just like, what's the point of like continuously doing this right now?
Yeah.
All of it's, I mean, that's just, yeah.
It seemed to me that the airfield was pretty much done with the first wave of attack.
yeah.
But then to go back with the second wave
Well, they wanted to make
It
sure
just-
they destroyed it.
for 20,
Oh.
30 minutes, bomb it over and over and
Yeah,
over. I
they-
mean, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were bombing.
Wow.
At the end of this horrific day in Darwin, 9 ships had been sunk, 9 P-40s from USAAF 33rd Pursuit Squadron destroyed in the air, while 2 more P-40s, all 6 RAAF No. 2 Squadron Hudsons, and 1 LB-30 destroyed on the ground. 3 US Navy Patrol Wing 10 also burned in the harbor. Another 278 RAAF personnel were
jeez.
considered to have deserted as a result
Bless
of
them.
the raids, although it has been argued that the desertions were mostly the result of ambiguous orders given to RAAF ground staff after the attacks.
Okay.
Some 250 people had been killed, mostly on the Peary and Neptuna. The government in Canberra suppressed these casualty figures, out of fear for panic among the Australian population.
Okay.
Darwin was destroyed as a serviceable base. Coming on the heels of the Singapore disaster, the raid was interpreted as a prelude to an invasion on the
So, and when I say this, please understand what I'm trying to say. So, the word only, I feel really bad saying that. Understand what I mean, please. Only 250 people died? Is that accurate? They said they suppressed the number, but to what? To the 250 or to something different? And I'm only saying only because, you know, I'm looking at this and the giant,
Would have thought it
insane
would've been-
attack this was, right? And I'm expecting thousands of loss of life, and, you know, like Pearl Harbor. So that, you know, I mean, they're basically defenseless. I'm expecting much more than this. I'm thankful, if this is the right number, that that's not the case. I'm very happy to hear
Right.
that. I'm not okay to hear about one person.
Exactly.
I
I get what you're saying.
don't know how else to say that
Would
in a
have
better
thought
way.
the number would have been
Yes.
more.
That's what I'm trying to say, and I hope no one took offense to what I just said.
Yeah. Hopefully not. I mean,
No,
please
it's not what I
understand we're learning here and we're just trying to make sure that we heard correctly.
Yeah, because that's why I rewound this back for just a minute, because I want to check that what he just said, that they distorted the figures, essentially.
on the Peary and Neptuna. The government in Canberra suppressed these casualty figures, out of fear for panic among the Australian population. Darwin was destroyed as a serviceable base. Coming on the heels of the Singapore disaster, the raid was interpreted as a prelude to an invasion on the continent.
Was it rebuilt?
Australia's now living in the darkest hour. Any request by the Allies to send Australian corps to outer territories had been blocked. After the 19th of February raid, the Japanese made 64 more bombing attacks on the Northern Territory and parts of Western Australia's north coast between the 4th of March 1942 and the 12th of November 1943.
That's my birthday.
But none of the attacks are devastating as the Darwin raid. For the Japanese, the first air fleet strike on Darwin succeeded in eliminating all of these threats to the Timor invasion. The Timor convoys were undetected until they reached their destinations, and unloading was unimpeded. They had achieved complete surprise on Darwin, as they did on Pearl Harbor.
Yeah.
Despite the heavy fire from Australian AA guns, the Japanese lost only 1-0 and 2 VALs over Darwin. One Kate was also forced to ditch in the ocean on the return flight, but its crew was rescued. Another 34 planes were damaged in varying degrees. So in this respect, the Darwin raid was a successful operation.
I mean, if war successful.
However, Nagumo's described the operation as using a sledgehammer to break an egg, while Fuchida would later say that the job to be done seemed hardly worthy of the Nagumo force. After the attack, the Nagumo carrier fleet headed to Kendari for refueled and resupply. They were joined by Vice Admiral Nobutake Kondo, with the 4th Cruiser Squadron, and 2 3rd Battleship Squadron. They are getting ready for the Indian Ocean, for the endgame of Java.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
That was insanity.
It's hard to put it into words.
Very detailed video.
Yes.
I mean, you guys let us know. Obviously you're familiar with the history. We're not on this part of the war. How you feel it was done. I really was able to follow this very easily and understand it well, the way that they did it with the maps and things. You know, watching footage of Pearl Harbor and stuff. I understand Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, I liked how he went into like what was at the base, what was in Darwin at the time.
I'm trying to say, and I can't get it
where
out.
the planes, the ships, and everything else were that had been there.
Yeah, what
when
kind
they
of
left,
ships they were.
They left the day before, or
Right.
the night before, and they're delivering ammunition here or there. And then the ship went out, and then it came back. I really did like that.
Yeah, I don't care how many people. If one person lost their life, to me that is too many. It's war. I get it. It's gonna happen. But it shouldn't, and it sucks, and I hate war. But at the same time, you know, it's not how you can call anything a victory in war. Just don't. It makes my brain feel weird. Like, okay. They even said it themselves at the end, like, you know, you had said originally, overkill. Like taking a sledgehammer to break an egg.
Yeah.
I think of the men down there on the ground with the guns, you know, the anti-aircraft guns, and just being, just sitting ducks, knowing that, you know, they know that they're limited resources here and they don't have much to go off of, and they see this waves of hell coming down on them, right? And they're still out there. And they're still brave enough. They still are out there to try to defend and protect. And God bless those men. God bless them.
Yes. God bless all the military. I think about just the attack and how they took out Darwin. They could have come in, invaded, and taken over. I mean, thank God they didn't.
Thanks for watching with us, guys. I'm not going to say I hope you enjoyed this episode. No, I hope you didn't enjoy this episode, but I hope that those like us who did not have the information, the history, the knowledge, learned something. And, you know, this is something I'm going to talk about with friends and family and ask them, did you know about this? We appreciate you guys so much for watching, and don't really have anything else to say here.
No, I don't know what else we can say other than I'm so glad that we do finally know about this.
Yeah, me too. So guys, we will see you next time. Until then, please love like jazz.
Be as strong as Tyson.
Bye, guys.
Bye.